Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday morning. I'd like to go over just a few things, some thoughts on currency after the SHTF situation happens, when the stuff starts hitting the fan and your paper stops being worth anything. A lot of people do talk about ammo as a currency. And so I just want to go over some of the shortcomings of ammo as a currency. Nothing out there is going to be a perfect replacement for currency. If it was, people would already be using it. But I want to make sure that you're aware of some of the downsides to ammo. Personally, I think ammo probably is the best thing out there to be using, probably in most cases, not all cases, because it is portable. It is valuable, so it's a relatively dense store of value. It has inherent value. It has a use. It's functional, and it is somewhat universal. But let's get into some of the downsides, and then I'll put in a couple of options for trading currency other than ammo for situations where it doesn't seem to be quite appropriate. All right, first things first is it's not completely universal. So if you have certain types of ammo, it's going to be better than other types of ammo. But the simple fact is you're going to meet people who don't have guns. If they don't have guns, the ammo is not going to be valuable to them probably, except for the fact that they can maybe trade it to somebody else. So it's not universally wanted by everybody. And if you have the wrong caliber, it may not help them. If they have 9 mil and you're trying to trade them 22, they're like, that doesn't do me any good. So once again, it may be able to be used for trading for other people, but when you're trying to trade with this person, they may not want it. And that's a problem. Now, if you have all the different kinds, maybe you'll be able to find something that they do want, but that is an inherent downside, especially if you have weird ammo, okay, for less used cartridges and such. Second thing, that leads into the second thing, which is varying quality. So there's definitely a difference between, Thunderbolt 22 ammo and CCI 22, right? So how do you measure the differences in the quality? Not to mention if it's old ammo. Also, if you take it out of the boxes, then people don't know what kind of ammo it is, possibly, and so it may be a hard time trying to understand the value of what you're looking at. So that's a challenge there as well. So if you leave it in the boxes where people know what it is and what brand it is, that will probably help you out. If you take it out of the boxes and put it into bags and stuff like that, that may not be quite as good. Third thing, people don't think about this a lot, is confiscation. Usually societies do not go into a situation where there is no law. Usually it just turns into more local law. I've talked about this before, about tribal, how things usually break down into tribal groups. Well, if there's a tribal group in your area made up of people, I'm not talking about like ethnicities or anything like that. I'm just talking about how all the people in your area will probably form a kind of a tribe. And in that case, they're probably going to start confiscating everyone's ammo. Maybe not all of your ammo, but they're going to start, collecting ammo because the group as a whole is going to need to have security. And so they're going to go around and ask people to cough up a bunch of their ammo. So if you're trying to use ammo as currency and yet they're trying to confiscate it, that's not going to work very well, is it? So you just need to keep that in mind. If you're suddenly putting out all this ammo that you said you didn't have before, that might get you into a world of trouble, and you probably want to use something else as currency at that point. The next thing that people also don't think about is sometimes you need to trade with someone that you don't feel safe giving them ammo because you might be afraid that they may use it on you, right? In that type of situation, it stops being good currency because you don't want to give ammo to that person, right? You might feel better about giving them something that they can't kill you with, right? So that's a consideration too. And sometimes you need to trade with people you don't like, people that you don't necessarily want to be super, super powerful. So you don't want to give them more power. You want to just get what you need from them, right? So in that case, you'd also want to use an alternative currency. Also, it's hard to quantify value. I kind of got into this with the varying quality, but a loaf of bread, we can understand the value. Anything that you can actually make has a value, but when you're talking about something that people can't make, then it becomes hard to quantify how many hours it would take to make that. So once something is completely off the grid, so like people aren't going to be able to dig up lead and manufacture 22 ammo or 9 mil or something like that. So how do you gauge that against other things that people can make a replacement for themselves? So that's another thought there. And then finally, a concern that I have is that non-prepper, this is something that non-preppers do kind of stock up on, right? So I think that in a SHTF situation, at least in America, there's going to be a lot of people bringing a whole lot of ammo out, and I don't think everyone's going to need that much. I think there's probably more ammo floating around, and when everyone goes into their safes and pulls it out, and when you start trying to use it as currency, there's just going to be way too much of it. I know some people think that everyone's going to be using up that ammo constantly and in ridiculous amounts, but I don't think that's really the case. I think people use it for target practice, that type of thing, but there's a lot of ammo stockpiled by a lot of people, and the people who have stockpiled it, they have a lot of it. So in that case, it may not be all that valuable when people are hungry, because the ammo may not be able to actually fill your belly. All right, so alternatives. Just some basic alternatives. If you can't use ammo in a specific situation where you don't want to give that to someone that you don't trust, or you're afraid of confiscation, or whatever reason that we may have just covered, that you don't want to use ammo for trade, what else can you use? What else should you have stocked up? 1 pound of rice is very quantifiable. If you should have a scale. You should have scales. If you can measure out 1 pound of rice, that is just like, people can understand how valuable that is, because you can calculate up the calories and say, how long will this keep a person alive? How much work would this take out in the garden to replicate, right, out of potatoes or something? So 1 pound of rice, 1 pound of beans. And there's a reason why I'm stocking up so much on these cans of chicken. Canned chicken, I think, can be a currency. It doesn't really go bad, so that's good. Everybody needs it. It's a treat, but more than a treat, it's still kind of a basic staple, so that's good. Canning jars. Canning jars are a great currency as well. Now, all the things that I've just listed, they're not as value dense as ammo is, so you can get into that. Silver and gold are very value dense, but at the same time, as they say, you can't eat silver or gold. So its utility is questionable, right? It's not useful for anything for people living in a home that are trying to survive. I mean, people will want it because it's worth money. It is money, actually, but if they're struggling to survive, they may not want to trade for that. They may want to trade for something that actually is going to help them survive. So, but energy density, silver is king. Ammo is a close second. So that's a thought there too. But hopefully some of those things just kind of get your wheels turning. What do you have to trade? I just like having a little bit extra of everything, because that way it kind of doubles me up. It doubles me up because I can use those things, but on the other hand, I have enough to share, and I can share whatever their need is. So like when it comes to lighters, I have a whole bunch of extra lighters because I think that they're great trading things. when it comes to canning jars, I have extra canning jars. I have extra, food. I have extra, you don't know where your holes are going to be because you're going to overlook something. You're inevitably going to overlook something. And when you do, you're going to need a trade for whatever that is. Or something's going to happen to whatever you have stored up. And you're going to need a trade for those things. So really thinking hard about what you will have to trade is a good practice to have. All right. Those are my thoughts on it. Hopefully got you thinking. God bless you all. I will be back here on at 1 p.m. today with a subscriber update. But until then, I will see you later.